Hello, welcome back to another edition of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, the Mouth of Michigan, Ramadika. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merksell, Mike Merkel.
I'm here.
And we have the whale man, Kyle Budzinowski, in all his glory today, and we'll be talking about that. It is episode 100. We are here. We thank you so much for being with us for the first 99 episodes. We hope you continue to be with us for the next 100, 200, 300, however many more we got left in us. We hope you were there from the very beginning. And if you've been with us since the beginning, we can't thank you enough once again. It's a big momentous occasion for all of us here at the show. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't think a lot of people saw us having 100 episodes in us. I don't think we even saw it. So the fact that we have been able to put out great content for you guys every single week for literally 100 weeks now is not only an accomplishment for us, but it's a testament to you guys and everybody who listens to the show, supports the show. We genuinely really appreciate all the support that we have gotten. We've had the last month or so has been our highest feedback yet, so we're really loving that. So you people in New Jersey, whoever's listening in New Jersey, really digging this show for whatever reason. They must like listen to Lions talk more than Jets and Giants, I guess. I don't really know what's going on, but we are here finally. We've been talking about it. I don't know what I'm going to promote now for the next 6 weeks. Episode 150, 125, I don't know. Lots of great stuff coming for you, especially if you watch us on YouTube. Be sure to stick around till the end of the show. We have another series for the I'm Always Right 24/7 Championship, which is always something we look forward to doing every once in a while for you guys. Takes a lot of hard work on our end to film all that stuff with just a 3-man crew that we have. So if you guys are digging those videos, please let us know ahead of time. But this week's going to be a little bit different than normal for episode 100. We wanted to start this show off for the first half, just kind of talking about how the show came about, some of our favorite stories, some of our better takes, some of our bad takes, some of the best moments that we can remember here on the show, why me and Mike originally started the show, how we got Kyle in on the show, a lot of that kind of stuff that maybe you guys haven't heard before. And then in part 2 of this show, we're going to get back to doing what we do best, and we are going to talk Michigan State Rutgers. We were all really wrong on that. And we're going to talk Michigan, Minnesota as well. So next week we're going to talk more Michigan State, obviously based off the result of that game, of the rivalry game. We're going to be talking WWE's Hell in a Cell. We're going to be talking maybe some World Series action. So next week will be a more traditional I'm Always Right Sports podcast from the first 99 that you guys have heard. But I figured this week in particular, because a lot of this stuff would have been happening right before or we did the show, I figured it'd be nice for us to just kind of look back at the history of the first 99 and a half episodes, I guess, and go back. But Mike, do you remember exactly how this whole thing kind of came about? Do you have? Because I do, but I want to see. I want to see. I've been talking for 4 minutes almost, so I want to let somebody else chime in here.
Do I remember?
I remember a very distinct conversation.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, there's one that sticks out in my mind.
I just remember sitting in, not our living room.
Yeah.
It was our side room in my house.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about, it had to be something with the Lions.
Yeah, probably.
It had to be something with the Lions. And
if you listen to the show at all, you're not shocked.
Yeah, not shocked. It was either that or like some sporting event or something. And then,
probably wrestling.
What was it? My sister probably came in, and she was like, "Hey, the Brain Emily Merkel." Gotta give her.
You remember her from the first early episodes of the show when we used to do the show in your bedroom.
In my bedroom, yes, my nice Lions bed, with my 3 TVs. And I think she said, "Wow, you guys talk so much about sports. Why not do a podcast?"
Yeah.
I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I remember. Yeah. I don't remember anything after.
I remember us having a conversation. I think it was a little bit after that because, maybe you don't even realize this, or Kyle, you guys, but I've wanted to do this for a really long time. I really enjoy talking about sports. Even, we can say Michigan sports right now maybe aren't at the peak performance level as other cities right now, and that's fair to say, no doubt. But I've always wanted to do this. It's a dream of mine to have something like this and to be able to come out here every single week and put out a great product, especially highlighting some of the things going around Detroit, because I feel overall, with the exception of probably the Red Wings, Detroit sports don't get talked about enough, I feel like. And obviously right now we're going through a rebuild literally in all 4 major sports. But usually, right, even when the Pistons were good, it was never about the Pistons. It was about every other team but the Pistons, even though they were going to the Eastern Conference Finals. When the Tigers were good, it's like, okay, great, but what about what's going on in the NL, right? It was very rare that the Tigers would really get mentioned as, a team to be really contending. The Wings are a classic original six team, so they've always kind of been, and the Lions, obviously, they're the Lions. We love them despite the heart attacks that they give us on a weekly basis. Michigan, the Spartans, they've had their ups and downs. But I've always wanted to do this because I feel like the media attention that is surrounding Detroit sports on the national level is not very well received, and the local level, your 97 won the tickets, your local media, in my personal opinion, doesn't do Detroit sports justice. I feel like it's a lot of shock jock radio where it's just, let's hear people complain because that's all people want to do. I feel like we've done a really nice job here on this show to bring you a more, not necessarily optimistic side, but a more reasonable, balanced approach to why people do the things that they do, right? And trying to explain things maybe that other fans maybe don't understand, maybe don't look at from another perspective. And we don't approve of all moves or all transactions or all results, right? Or coaching changes, obviously. But the point is that you can make an argument for these teams, and you can understand why you're still supporting them because they're our teams, right? And obviously we've explored, some of the major stories around sports, and we've done something that I don't think a lot of people in our position would have been able to do, which is do this through COVID, where we had basically a complete standstill of sports for months, and we still had to churn out content somewhere, right? Like, we're talking about maybes and previews and doing all this stuff, not even knowing if we were going to see any of it, right? I think is a testament to not only our support, but the fact that we've been able to churn out. But the conversation I remember is us, me, you, Mike, Emily was in the room. It was in the dining room at your house.
Oh, okay.
And your dad was talking and stuff like that. And I finally just said, we were talking kind of a similar situation. We're like, you guys should start a podcast. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I got a mic. I got a laptop. Let me figure it out. Give me a week. And I just told you, I was like, hey, I'm coming over. I was over at your house every day anyway. I'm like, we're doing this on a Thursday. Let's just do one. Let's see how it sounds. Let's do it. I typed out a show sheet for us. I remember it was right when Mike McCarthy got fired by the Packers. That was like the first show, if you want to go back and listen to that. But we just kind of did it, and it came off, and it sounded good, and literally after that it was like, okay, let's plan out a schedule. Emily made a logo, the original logo, that night. We had a name. I gave everybody nicknames just in case, kind of thing. For future branding purposes, and we were off and running. So that's what I remember, that conversation where I went, you know what, screw it, let's try it. Worst case scenario, it sucks, and we just stopped doing it after a couple weeks. But here we are still. Do you remember how we got Kyle on? Because I don't remember that at all.
I don't at all either, so this is...
Is it just because Emily just stopped showing up?
It might have been. See, okay, do you remember, Kyle, do you remember your first show you were on?
No.
You don't?
Yeah.
See, I want to guess.
Yeah.
Because originally we had you on for NBA talk.
Yes, we did a very specific, because Em and him would sub in and out.
Yes.
Remember, Em would be on part of the show, and then Kyle would be on part of the show.
Emily would be more on the general stuff. She would just kind of.
Or she'd be there for wrestling because she'd be like, I know wrestlers in general. Because Kyle's like, I got no freaking idea.
Yeah, so. And then we'd sub in Kyle with
for part two,
some NBA finals or some talk.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably something along the lines of the NBA playoffs were starting, and we were like, Kyle.
It was pretty early on. I mean, Kyle was not a permanent fixture for a little while, and then Em kind of phased out. Yeah. It was like, I don't want to keep doing this, and we're like, fair enough. Yeah. And then Kyle kind of moved his way in, right? And we've had special guests on the show, right? Yeah. We had an Ohio State fan here, unfortunately.
We will not
shout out to her.
Yeah. That's how you're getting.
We developed the quick hitter series, right, where we've talked about highlighted big games or special events that maybe deserve a little bit more focus, right? So we've got that sub series within the show. I got the belt made pretty early on, because I'm a belt nerd, obviously, by all that you see around us here. But yeah, guys, that's kind of the origin story of how this all came about. I remember every single weekend, it's like, okay, I'm coming over. All right, we got to get the table from downstairs, right? We got to position it in an angle where once you sit down, don't get back up because we're not going to be able to move because we didn't have the space, And then thankfully, me and Em got married, so we were able to buy the house and create the studio that we have now, thankfully, for sure, where we all can sit and not move.
Die.
Be able to go to the bathroom if we need to go. That sort of thing. We got the camera, obviously, that Em got us, to kind of put us on YouTube and all that good stuff. But, Mike, if you had to pick a moment or two that kind of sticks out in your mind from the show, just like some of your favorite moments, some of your funny moments that, that you can go at, that maybe people can go back and listen to. All the descriptions for every single episode are on all of them. So if you listen to Spotify, you can see all the topics that we talk about. And if you're not new to the show, you already know that. But for those maybe listening for the first time here, but is there an episode or a topic that we talked about where you're just going, what the hell was that? Or something hilarious?
See, I remember you tossing the idea of the belt idea.
Yeah.
The very first time.
Yeah.
You were like, all right, we should do, because that's the time when WWE introduced their 24/7. You're like, that would be something cool to do extra.
Right.
And we were all sitting around, and it was literally just in the middle of the show. We were just like, I think it was at the break of one of our shows, and you're like, all right, so we got to figure out a way to start it off. Yeah. But we didn't actually decide the way we were going to start it off.
We did not. No, so think about that.
Yeah, so we're like, all right, so after the show, we're going to talk about it and film something for it.
Right.
And so at the very end of the show, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stand up and just take it.
I remember that. I was like, I'm going to go along with this because we have 14, 20 minutes of footage that I can't go back and...
so I literally just stood up and I was like, I'm just taking it. And I left. And Rob was like, Rob and Kyle both had to impromptu go, okay, I guess.
Better watch your back, mister.
Yeah, I'm coming to get you. And that sparked off that little series.
Exactly. And if you go to I'mAlwaysRightPC.com, you can actually look at the title history of the I'm Always Right 24/7 Championship, where you see Michael is the first inaugural I'm Always Right 24/7 champion. I think Kyle has the distinction of holding the title the most times for the least amount of time. And I think I think you're pretty close now with the amount of time that you've held it overall. I think I've only held it twice, I think, technically. I just had one really long run because weather and all that kind of stuff. But I do remember that. Kyle, is there a moment for you that you remember that sticks out to you as maybe one of your favorite moments, one of your more funnier moments that you have? As he's smiling because I already know what the hell's going to come out of his mouth.
I have two for Kyle.
I think the one that we all know is my boy Jared Cook.
Give a little bit of background on this, because if people haven't heard, set up the scene because we've made that joke so many times now, and people go, I don't get it, because they missed that episode, because that was within the first 25, 30 episodes probably of the show. So what is the Jared Cook story?
So I don't really remember how it started on here, but I know my fascination for Jared Cook started when he had a wonderful game. I don't know who it was against, but I remember he had 7 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. I lost my mind.
Wow.
I lost my mind.
That's game breaking.
I was expecting 7 catches, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns. Just a generic output.
Just a big plays, all that mattered.
Yeah, for sure.
Did he have that catch from Aaron Rodgers on the sideline? Was that week when he remember that toe drag swag game that Rodgers? Everyone was like, Rodgers made a great throw. I'm like, actually, it was a great catch, but
it was great both.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know how I brought it on here, but I knew that we all...
I know exactly.
Yeah, I was saying, go ahead, Mike. I know too. I'll let Mike tell.
We were doing free agency.
Yeah.
And you were like, Kyle, who is the number 1 free agent that the Lions need? And we had this entire list
we're
of
thinking this is right before, this is the same offseason that the Trey Flowers signed with the Lions, for those of you who are looking for a timeline here.
Trey Flowers, Jesse James, literally everyone that we signed there we were talking about at that time. Exactly. And then Kyle's looking through the list, he goes, you know what? Jared Cook.
Right.
We're right after we
still had Ebron, I think, at this point. Or no, they just got rid of Ebron, but they were they had other tight ends at the time too. But it was just, of all the people possible, he's like, Jared Cook. I go, 32-year-old tight end is what their primary. Exactly what it was their primary offseason acquisition. Jared Cook. Gosh dang it, Jared Cook. And now looking back, right, if he would have started here, maybe not have been a bet. I mean, he's been very productive in New Orleans. He was productive in Green Bay. He's a good player, no doubt. It was just funny that of all the people, all the big names at the time that they could have tried to sign, I think Landon Collins was available at that time, the free agent that wound up going to Washington. You saw a bunch of other times. You go, all these different guys you could have signed, and he goes with Jared Cook. That for me sticks out as a big highlight.
And then another subtle one, which might even be in the same episode, when we were at my house still, and it was pouring rain, and I think thunder hit, and Kyle goes, guys, did you hear that? And we all just went, hear what?
Yeah.
And like, we had to stop for like 30 seconds because like thunder hit
And we
or
had to
something.
stop, and I went pause, and then I don't think you probably hear it on the show itself. That's more of an inside thing. But yeah, I do remember that. I remember one point there was a noise. I think it was still back when we were at your house where there was a noise outside, and we all kind of stopped for a second, took a look, and then went, never mind, and like continued to go. Some of those are pretty funny. I'd say one of my more recent ones is my rant on Giannis and the Clippers both.
Yes.
Those were pretty good. I try not to get too exacerbated on this show. I try to keep my cool usually. I think by the time we film these shows, whether it's after a Lions loss or something, we're a week behind, so I have time to process. Because if we filmed the show after a Lions game, I'd be a much grumpier person on this show. What's a take that you had that maybe you thought this is a great, this is some inside stuff here. This is a great, insight or analysis, and that you completely look back and go, I was completely off.
It was completely off on.
Yeah. Give me one that maybe you were on.
No, the one I was super on was we were going through the Final Four.
Yes, you were.
Last year or 2 years ago now.
2 years ago.
Or whatever it was. And we were breaking down the Final Four.
Yeah.
And that was just me talking for like 20 minutes, and you were just like...
I was like, wow, you've done a lot of research on this.
I was down for Trevor Lawrence that year.
Yeah, the year that they won
the year they won the title. That was my absolute grandest moment.
You're like Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy, and I was kind of like, he's a freshman. They're playing.
And then they win like 55-14 against Alabama. We came on the next week, and you were like, he won. He's pretty good. Yeah, he's the guy.
I remember one that I was really off on. It was, we go through every NFL offseason where we see any coaching changes that happen, right? We always look at, possible, positions. And I remember thinking at the time when Adam Gase got fired by the Dolphins, I was like, I really hope Adam Gase doesn't get a head coaching job because I really want the Lions to hire him to be their offensive coordinator. And I was very he did great things in Denver. And then I'm like, and then looking back on it, I go, wow, we would be in even worse position than we are now if we would have hired Adam Gase to be our offensive coordinator. That would have been a total disaster. So I was definitely on that. I think I was also in favor of Mike McCarthy being our OC as well when he got fired by Green Bay. Yeah. Also a big whiff.
Yeah.
My end.
Rob, we just need to stop doing Lions coaching talk because it's not working out.
It's not working out. No, it's not.
The one segment that's not working for us.
I know, it's just terrible. You look at it. That's kind of why I'd be a little afraid for Eric Bieniemy to come here, right? If Patricia gets fired, because same thing. I'd be super excited, but at the same time, I go, yeah, but it's Mahomes isn't here. Tyreek Hill's not here. It's a totally different set of players. Kyle, is there a moment for you, or is there a take that maybe you were nailed it outside of LeBron that you could have, or one that you totally whiffed on?
I think the most recent one where I thought I got right was the Miami Heat.
Yes, I was thinking too. Yep. Yeah, you were lasered on that.
one.
Nobody was predicting that. Absolutely nobody in the net. I don't care what anybody says. Don't show me clips later. Nobody in the national media was talking about the Heat making a finals run here. Not a single person.
I do remember it because
Kyle was the only one.
It was us three. Me and Rob went, no, it's going to be the Bucks. But
right. Kyle's like, I don't know. And then we went off air and we go, man, he makes a good argument. Yeah. And then they went out and just absolutely obliterated the Bucks. So that was one for sure. Do you have a favorite moment, or is there one that is there one for you that really sticks out, or is there maybe one is there maybe it's one of the I'm Always Right, the 24/7 series videos that we've done, something for you that's like if there's something that you're always going to remember from those first 100 episodes, is there something for you?
Wait, hold on. Go, Kyle.
Kyle, do you got one? Is there one that's your favorite? Some of these are more memorable than others. Obviously, we talk so much stuff on this show on a weekly basis, right? Even people come to me and go, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about when you start talking New Japan and all that kind of stuff. I go, well, this is your opportunity to learn, So, but we cover so many different topics on this show on a weekly basis. So sometimes it's hard. But is there a moment for you that you look back on and you go, that was pretty good? Whether it was a segment, a video we did, something in this first 100 episodes that you're like, bam.
Well, I believe this was our first skit that we did. It was the one where I tapped Michael out just when he was sleeping. Was that the first one?
Yes.
He was one of the first ones.
Yeah, it was one.
I think it was one of them. Yeah.
But I think that was kind of one of my favorites, like coming out of the back of my car.
Yes.
All the Nerf
Yeah,
gun
and shooting
stuff.
me with the Nerf gun. Yeah, that was a great one.
Remember the one where you slipped and hit the sign, and Rob freaked out because he thought you like hurt the belt?
Yeah, because I go, oh no!
Yeah, you were like, no, the belt.
Well, because we just
hurt.
bought it like a month before that. And I'm like, oh great, it's
No.
skidding on the sidewalk.
We have to talk about the best skit though.
Yeah.
The tying skit.
That was hilarious.
By far the best
And
skit.
I'm not even in it, but it was great stuff. But it was hilarious.
Getting the quarter to stand took way more time than I think it should have. But you really got it to work.
If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. It's on the title history. You can see
it's in one of the 70s, I think, or something.
I'm Always Right PC.com. Go to the I'm Always Right 24/7 Championship page on the website. You have all the title histories, and in the title history, you can see every episode that a title change has occurred. So if there's even multiple title changes in the same episode, you're going to see it. So it's on that list. So all of them, go back and watch that, because that was when I lost it, right?
Yeah.
To Kyle, you guys were fighting over it.
Yeah,
I went and got the mail for 45 minutes. Makes sense. But yeah, no, that's a great one
that
for
was
me.
the best one.
I think one of my favorite moments, honestly, would have had to have been our first episode, because seeing you, especially, because we would always talk for so long, right?
Yeah.
And it comes so naturally. I will say this, and this is a compliment to you for sure, and Kyle to some extent, but because we started it, before he was on here. There's not a lot of people that I find are my sports intellectual equal, I guess, in the best way of putting that, right? Like, I feel like we all can have a conversation about something and understand each other's viewpoints, whether we agree with it or not, and it's a logical argument or a logical discussion. It's not a consistent where I'm like, I don't know where the hell you're coming from, and that take doesn't, I'm very happy that we don't have the Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp hot take-ness that happens on Hot Take, or I'm glad that I don't need to be Nick Wright and talk like this about LeBron James and get off doing that. I'm very happy that we don't have that, and we can have a genuine conversation on this show. But I remember our first show, you were looking at me, and you're like, what do I say? And I'm like, just talk. And you're like, okay. And then we just talked, and it was like the best hour that, it was great, and it's kind of what spurned the rest of this show by far. So that was always good. I love the fact that we do this belt series thing. I think it's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun filming that stuff. It's funny. We can kind of see the progression of all of it. As Kyle's still watching Michigan destroy Minnesota, which we're going to talk about here in the part 2. But this show is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to evolve. We hope to do more of the 24/7 stuff. We hope to continue to do stuff. I hope you enjoyed the fact that we're able to sometimes bring on new guests, bring on interviews, and that kind of thing. So it's one of those things where we're always looking to improve, always looking to evolve. So anything that you guys have out there that you guys want to see us do, whether it's a video, whether it's new content, whether you want to see stuff, if you want a tour of the studio, you want belt reviews, you want whatever it is that we have here on the show that we can pull off. You want to hear Kyle talk Michigan's depth all the way from their first string to their seventh string, we can do it. We can have Mike talk about why LeBron is the greatest of all time, and you won't hear anything different, and don't you dare say otherwise. Whatever the case may be, you want to see it, we can probably make it happen for you guys, especially in the realm of sports. So that's going to be it for part 1 of this week's show. We really appreciate you kind of traveling back in the time machine with us as we kind of go through just some of the history of the show, how we got to where we're at today. It's been a long road for sure, almost 2 years worth of time. We're coming up on our 2-year anniversary here in like a month here, so we've got a lot of stuff coming up. That'll have to be another celebration right there. Yeah. Episode 100, then we got that, but
it's too much.
too much celebration at one time. But we really appreciate all the support once again from everybody here at the show. So that's going to be it for part 1. Part 2, we're going to get back to talking sports. We're going to talk Michigan State Rutgers, and of course Michigan versus Minnesota at night. All that great stuff after the break. Stick around. Hey guys, it's the Mouth of Michigan, Rob Mendyka here. I just want to take one more opportunity to say thank you so much for the support for these first 99 to 100 episodes. Really appreciate it. We could not have gotten here without each and every single one of you. So once again, thank you. You guys are the best. Here's part 2 of this week's episode. And welcome back to episode 100 of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. Been talking about it forever. We're finally here. If you missed part 1, we did a kind of a brief history, some of our favorite moments, some of our maybe not so great takes on the show. A little bit different than what we normally do. But with that being said, now we're going to get back to what we normally do here. We're going to talk WWE's Hell in the Cell show next week. We'll probably talk some World Series. We're also going to talk more Michigan State like we're going to do today after their big game as well. So lots of good stuff. We'll give you some predictions for that game ahead of time. But let's talk Michigan State first. You know, we kind of all went in last week. We talked about it. We previewed their opener against Rutgers. You know, they were at Rutgers, if that makes... They were at Rutgers, right? Were they at Rutgers?
No, they were in Michigan.
Were they home? Oh, good Lord. Yeah. All right. Well, we all thought Michigan State was going to basically steamroll Rutgers, right? That could not have been further from what happened. 7 turnovers later, Michigan State getting upset by Rutgers by, what was it? More than 2 scores, right? It was like 17? Something like that. Pretty close, right?
38-27.
38-27. So 11 points, a double-digit loss by the Spartans. Mel Tucker's start to the Mel Tucker era of Michigan State not going the way it was planned. We all thought this was going to be a landslide victory for Michigan State. I did not expect Rutgers to come out. I mean, let's put this in a little bit of context. You fumble that many times. You turn the ball over 7 times. I'm going to take... Let's say 6, because the 7th one was a forced pick that is at the end of the game anyway, but 6 turnovers in time where you really needed to play, and you completely, I mean, you dropped the ball, literally and figuratively. No one wins a game against anybody with 6 turnovers. It just doesn't happen. But, Kyle, let me start with you on this game. I know you guys are both kind of in and out watching a little bit at a time. You guys are both working today. But talk to me about Michigan State here. We all kind of thought this was going to be a layup, and clearly it's not. I mean, what if you're Mel Tucker, what do you do? What adjustments can you... Obviously, hold on to the ball, clearly. But outside of that, they didn't look good. They did not look prepared. Rutgers was all over them from the jump.
Well, so I didn't watch any of the game. But from what I've seen and heard is Rocky Lombardi had good stats, but he basically played bad.
He basically played bad, yeah. And, he didn't look comfortable.
Obviously, the interceptions, the fumbles, that's a coachable thing. You got to work on that because you're going to be playing a team next week that's going to blow you over if you continue to do that.
We'll talk Michigan in a second. I'll let you have as much time as you want.
That's not good. I'm trying to help Michigan State out.
I feel you.
And so defensively, God, I don't even know how you let much points up against Rutgers. I mean, I didn't watch.
Well, you gave them 6 extra attempps, to be fair.
Yeah, there was a lot of short field that Rutgers had.
You know what I mean? Like, good Lord.
But still, they scored like what the highest scoring game they had was like 21.
Yeah, this is the first game for Rutgers under the second run of Greg Schiano, right? Greg Schiano was their old coach, joined Tampa Bay, was a coach for New England for a hot second there. But he's back as head coach again. He's one of the highest percentage win coaches in Rutgers history. They win their first Big Ten game in 21 games, and they beat the Spartans. Mike, talk to me about the Spartans. What did you see? What did you like, if anything? This is a rough go. I think all Sparty Nation right now has got to be not only pissed, but extremely pessimistic about the rest of this season.
Yeah. I think your one positive side was Jaden Reed, the receiver. Yeah. 11 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And even Lombardi himself with the 2 picks aren't good, but 320
I'll
yards.
I'll take one of those off, though. The one was like with like a minute and a half left that they're just forced.
So, I mean,
so 30, take the one off.
31 for 43, 320 yards, and 3 touchdowns with the pick, with the asterisk on the second one, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not the worst stat line ever.
No.
I really think the defense just was not.
Yeah, they had 4 fumbles.
Game.
They had 4 fumbles in this game. Yeah. I mean, good Lord. And an onside kick that was muffed, I think that they didn't recover either.
And I think it's just more to the running game. Like, the Rutgers' leading rusher had 61 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
But that's just one player. Like, they all had they were all getting 50 yards, 40 yards.
Yep.
Their run defense was absolutely awful.
Yep.
They just didn't look prepared defensively. I think offensively, outside of, a lot of the fumbles that they had, I think, Lombardi did the best that he could with all the situation that was going around him.
Yeah.
And he had a really good he had some good receiver play, but outside of that, it was
I mean, if you're Michigan State though, right, take the turnovers out of it here for a second, right? You still offensively, I think you played okay. You could have played better, obviously, with the amount of turnovers you had, clearly, but like, I mean, are you looking at this team and going, okay, I don't think they're as bad as they look today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that this game for Rutgers is more like, oh my gosh, and Rutgers is going to get steamrolled now by the next 7 teams that they probably play. But with that being said, if you're the Spartans and you're Mel Tucker and this coaching staff and this regime, right? I made a point to a buddy of mine who's a big Michigan State fan. This is the first time Michigan State has ever gone this amount of overhaul in like 15 years, right? D'Antonio's not there. You don't have the heir apparent quarterback, whether it's going from Cooks or from Cousins to Cook to even Lewerke, who got progressively worse. But the point is, you had a guy ready, right? Or even Maxwell for that hot minute there. You had people ready to go at the most important position. You didn't, Rocky Lombardi. That's his name, Rocky, right? That's his name. He's not good, right? We know what he is. He's okay. He's not great. He's not going to do anything that's going to separate you, right? Being the resident quarterback in the room here, Mike, do you? Even though the stat line doesn't look terrible, do you still roll with this kid, or do you just say, you know what, screw it, let's play the young guy that was in competition at the beginning of camp, and just say, you know what, even if we're gonna lose, this kid's gonna get experience. We're gonna grow together. We're gonna figure it out, and let's see what we have in this kid.
Yeah, I think the problem is your next game against Michigan. I think it's gonna be very tough with a good defensive line that they're gonna go up against.
Yeah.
For just throw a freshman in there.
That'd be a disaster.
I gotta look at their schedule to see who they put after that. Because I think if you throw in Lombardi, because Lombardi was not any reason why they lost.
Yeah, he didn't make any big plays, but I don't also think that he wasn't necessarily ineffective.
Yeah, exactly. After Michigan, you get Iowa, Indiana, Maryland, and Northwestern are your next 4 after Michigan.
Right. Those are more highly competitive.
I think in those 4-game stretch, I think you play your freshman quarterback, and then they end with Ohio State, Penn State, which obviously you probably not going to win either one of those.
Yeah.
But if you play your pure freshman quarterback in that middle 4 game, it's not like you're just going to go out there and throw him into the wolves against Ohio State or the Michigans. I think that he can go out and be competitive and actually have a good showing, so then he could be the quarterback of the future. But I think the games that you don't think that you're going to be able to be competitive in, I would say just rock with Lombardi, because he's going to leave after this year, and you need this freshman to feel confident. And if he goes in against Ohio State and throws 5 interceptions, he's not going to be confident.
Yeah, that game could get ugly really quickly. All right, real quick, we're going to talk. We'll hit Michigan in 1 second, but Kyle, if you're talking to the Michigan State fan base for a second here, okay? Take the Michigan hat off for a second. If you're a fan of Michigan State, and if you want to have some sort of optimism going into the rest of this season and for this Mel Tucker era, give me a statement. Talk to the Michigan State fans. What if there's something where you go, hey, listen, stick with it because of X or Y or whatever, right? Give me a reason to be optimistic about this Spartan regime.
Well, if I was talking to some Michigan
He's loving this because he knows they're terrible.
It's funny. All right, so if we're talking to a Michigan State fan, basically what I would tell them is that you're not supposed to be good. I mean, you weren't supposed to be this bad, but you're not supposed to be good. And you got a brand new coach, brand new culture, and obviously it takes time to get into that culture.
Michael, you're killing me, dude. I'm just laughing at his response. I love it. It's funny because even if I say take the Michigan hat off, you're like, you're not supposed to be good, which you're correct, but you're also not supposed to be this bad. I agree, but continue. Go ahead.
But if you want to look at the positive end, you do have pieces that will benefit to you in the future. It's not like all hope is lost. If you put in a freshman quarterback, so you're not going to be balling out against anybody.
Yeah.
But he's going to improve over time, and that's what you want. And if you don't see a future with Rocky Lombardi, I advise that they put in the freshman quarterback.
The leash has got to be short, I feel like, for Lombardi a little bit, unfortunately. I think it's honest. It's not even due to his own fault, but it's more just the fact that where the program is at right now, where it's like, you know what? If you're going to be gone anyway, we might as well just get the next guy in here, because if we're not going to be competitive with you, we might as well not be competitive without you either. So we might as well get the next kid in here. Mike, same question to you real quick before we talk Michigan. Give me a statement. If you got a reason for hope or whatever, what do you have to say to this Michigan State fan base to stop them from jumping off the bridge?
See, I would just say, look what Michigan was back in 2014. Yeah. It's exactly where Michigan was 6-7 years ago, and then look where Michigan is now. You have Joe Milton playing balls to the walls right now, and Michigan's currently winning 49-24 about the end of the game against a ranked Minnesota team, where 7 years ago they'd be playing a ranked team, getting their butt kicked, and they're a 4-8 team. So I think that even though it looks stark right now, you have a new coach in there who obviously had a really bad game, but looks like he can motivate players. You have a nice freshman quarterback who's probably going to get some playing time in a shortened COVID season, where people aren't going to look at the season and go, this is one of those asterisk seasons because it's only 8 games and you're not playing all 12 or whatever. So you get that nice benefit, and you have a nice sophomore receiver who just had 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, where you're going to have him next year also to help with your freshman quarterback. So you have a lot of positives and you have some pieces there. And if Mel Tucker can be the guy to help you get over that hump, then I would say in 2 or 3 years, I think this freshman quarterback turns into a junior quarterback who can play like Joe Milton's playing right now.
And that's the thing too, right? Is that this is game one of a weird season, right? I mean, I know a lot of people are like, well, they have 3 extra weeks of practice. I go, yeah, but this Rutgers team is not good by any means, but they are better, right? Like, Greg Schiano is a good motivating kind of coach, right? He's turned Rutgers around before. They're a better well-coached than what Chris Ash had them as. So this is not a... I wouldn't say Rutgers is a good team by any means, and they should have not lost this game, but it's not the same Rutgers team. And I agree with you, right? Is that you can't be... You're going to be doom and gloom no matter what, because even if you won this game, right, you look at the rest of that schedule, you're not going to beat Michigan, I don't think. I don't think you have any shot against Penn State. I don't think you maybe even beat Indiana, quite frankly. There's some teams in there right now, obviously Ohio State, where, like, this season was not going to go where you're going to go 5-3. I just don't think it was going to happen, right? 4-4 was probably your best bet, right? Now maybe is it 3-6 or 3-5 or whatever? Maybe, right? But it's all about timing, and you haven't gone. You're literally Michigan State is coming off of the greatest decade and a half they've ever had from a program perspective, right? Final Fours, Big Tens, Rose Bowls, the whole 9 yards, right? And yet. And now you're going through literal change in every level. Your quarterback's different. Your head coach is different. All your schemes are different. The whole culture of the team is different. You got to be prepared for the fact that you're going to have to take 3 steps back in order to take 4 steps forward. Then that's hopefully the eventual goal. We saw last year the D'Antonio stuff. It wasn't working anymore. No. You know what I mean? So he got out. You couldn't land the coach like a Luke Fickell that you maybe probably wanted as your primary choice because of the way that D'Antonio left it. And that's probably because you kind of held on maybe a year or two too long. But you're going to have to deal with that now. And all programs go through this. Michigan went through it, right? We went through it for almost 10 years. We were your guys' BITCH for that time, really. You know what I mean? But it's a cyclical process. And if Mel Tucker's the guy, you're going to know in 2 to 3 years. Year 1, it's not possible. Yeah. All right, let's talk Michigan, Minnesota here to end the show. Maybe we'll preview Michigan State just a little bit. Michigan getting the victory in Minnesota, 49-24. Joe Milton's debut. We just got done watching the game. You guys were watching just the ends of it here as we recorded. But talk to me, Kyle. This is your game. You had Michigan winning. Me and Mike were not as optimistic about this team, and we were both kind of on the show me, and then we'll kind of get on the bandwagon. And I'll ask you, Mike, if you're on the bandwagon in a second. But Kyle, talk to me about this. You got to be thrilled right now from a lot of aspects of this game.
No, yeah, it was a great thing to see. I loved how they incorporated all the running backs. Into the game. There was a lot of questions who would get the playing time, who would get the most catches, passes.
Turns out everybody.
Yeah, but it all turned out well. I think the best part of the offense was the play calling. They incorporated a lot and everybody into the game, especially when you lost so much. And it's really nice to see all these new receivers being able to get all this playing time. And of course, Joe Milton played great. He didn't need to do anything great, but he played.
He kept everything in control, and that is the big thing. Yeah, he was composed, didn't do anything dumb. It just made everything easy for himself.
Very efficient when running the ball. He ran the ball really well.
Yes.
Those design runs for him.
Yes.
And defensively, you have some concerns. The running defense wasn't looking very good. The running back was a very experienced and well-touted running back, but still should not be allowing that. And the secondary
carry is not great.
Yeah, the secondary also another concern against the Golden Gophers. They played fine. You got an interception, but you got Dax Hill who got hurt. You don't know what that injury is about. So those are going to be my 2 concerns. And then the field goal kicking went 0 for 3 on field goals.
Yeah, Moody, dude. Come on, man.
Might throw Nordine in there.
Yeah. Well, Nordine's like, I'm not the most accurate guy in the world, but I'll kick it a mile. And then Moody's like, I can't either do either anymore, apparently. Because Moody was so much more accurate than Nordine last year. Yeah. And yet...
It was 13 for 13?
Yeah, right, exactly. So, I don't get that at all. I'm going to give him a pass because it wasn't needed, but, whoa. That's something to monitor for sure. Because kicking sometimes in close games, you're going to play Wisconsin, Penn State. Those are going to be close games. You're not going to blow this. I don't think anybody saw this blowout happening by any stretch of the imagination, right? I think, you saw this was three phases, right, where Michigan, outside of the first couple drives, really outplayed Minnesota, right? But there are some concerns. Mike, talk to me. I mean, are you on the bandwagon? Are you on the Joe Milton bandwagon? Because this game is a hard game to judge that because of the way it broke down.
Yes. I'm not fully on the bandwagon. I started this game because I did pick Minnesota to win by
a little bit.
Well, I will say actually I changed it. I went on. I can't say it on here. I just changed my bet to Michigan by like 4 to 6. 2 days ago.
Okay.
So, but on the show, I did pick Minnesota to win.
Yep.
So I'm going to stick with that here.
Yeah.
So I was wrong on that. However, how I said the game would go is that if Joe Milton got down early, I want to see what he could do.
Yeah.
And I still haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
And
Not
you could
really.
say, well,
they were down
Minnesota,
7-0.
they were down 7-0, and then literally Charbonnet ran for 1 rush for 70 yards, tied the game, and then they never looked back.
Yeah.
So
Literally.
Joe Milton didn't do anything on that drive to help proceed them go back. It was literally just
nothing, not his fault, but just
it's not his fault, but it's also not.
Yeah.
He didn't.
There was no throws that he had.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't throw anything there.
Yeah,
So
and that I think that is the point, right? Is that he didn't. There was not a point in this game where it's like, oh, this is a big third down. He's got to make this. We got to make a 3rd and 9.
yeah. So the defense playing teams like Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State still scares me as of right now. I do think that you have that buffer 2 games where you play Michigan State next week and Rutgers week 3.
Geez.
So you get those 2 teams. You can kind of try some new things out of, figure some stuff out to try to go into that Wisconsin game 3-0 with more into it, maybe a deeper game plan into those.
Yes.
So hopefully, I think that's the turning point where if they play Wisconsin, it's like 35-17.
You're like, okay,
I can kind of start jumping on it right now.
Yeah.
But this Minnesota team doesn't. They were missing a lot of starters. They didn't have a kicker, a punter.
Yeah.
Half their offensive line was out.
They're
so
beat up.
I wanna see them against a really good team first. But I did like what I saw.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point, right? And it's this Minnesota team was banged up more than we originally thought, right? I didn't know they were coming in without a kicker or a punter, quite frankly, so that sucks. You know what I mean? But this is the kind of game, though, still that Michigan needed to come out, and they needed to come out fast, and they needed to, and obviously, I mean, you couldn't have started worse, right? Block punt, they score, right? But they responded immediately with a 75-yard run. But after that, right, from an offensive perspective, is the first time that I've seen them play a relatively quality opponent and have their way offensively in the Harbaugh era, right? I was, to Kyle's point, I was extremely impressed with the play calling. They made it simple for Milton, right? It was not 5 reads, stand in the pocket, I need you to stand tall and make a great throw. It was, you know what? Slant, right? Tight end screen, right? Shovel pass, drag, right? He had one nice throw for a deep post he made a couple nice reads, right? But nothing super difficult. He didn't need to stand there and beat him with his arm.
Yeah, the one thing I wish this game would have shown is I just wish that Minnesota would have had a punter.
Yes.
So I would have been very interested to see Joe Milton go on long fields.
Right.
Because the second it was either 3 and out, which I'll give credit to the defense for. A few times, probably about 5 or 6 times that they had 3 and outs or forced on the punt. The punt only went 12 yards.
Yeah, so
or 18 yards.
They're starting at the 40,
45, 50. And when you're starting at the 50 or 45, you're going to come out with points more likely than not instead of starting at your own 20 every single time.
Correct.
So those things, like even when you play Michigan State, they're going to be punting. You're going to have to go drive the length of the field.
Correct.
So that's the thing I'd be very interested to look forward to.
And I'm looking forward to is seeing him, develop, right? But the one thing I will give, I think the biggest thing, if you really want to get on this Joe Milton train, which it's hard not to, you win a big game in Minnesota, a game that could have went either way, really depending, right? But from an offensive perspective, you have to like the fact that Joe Milton was not a liability, right? He was great on his legs. He made good decisions when to keep, when to not on the read options, right? The throws that he did make, he was accurate with for the most part. He had a couple, on a couple of the swing screens that got a little high, right? Which I think is probably jitters, and I think that's something that's coachable. But the reads he made were good reads. He wasn't trying to force the ball into situations. He wasn't trying to do too much. And I think it helps when the run game played as well as it did today, right? Everybody was scoring. Charbonnet was scoring. Haskins scored. Everybody was in on it, at one point or another. Evans played well. So you weren't asking him to do a lot, but he also wasn't hindering you. He wasn't making the dumb throws. He didn't have the interception where you're going, what the hell was that? Like, those are the kind of plays that I felt like Shea would do too often last year. Now, like, to your point, Mike, I'm not necessarily ready to jump on the Milton train. However, the fact that he was able to go into a situation like that, understand his role, and that I think is so important, is that, listen, running game's going well, cool. Just keep on running it, right? If it's gonna work, I don't need to do too much. I don't need to put my team in a situation where we have to figure out what the hell I just did. He did just enough, kept the ball under control, very easy and they made it easy for him from the coaching staff perspective. So I'm going to give Josh Gaddis and Jim Harbaugh a lot of credit, give the defense some credit for getting them those short fields. What's your biggest concern for Michigan? Kyle hit on it a little bit, right, with the run defense at times was rough. Your secondary for me is more concerning, quite frankly.
Yes.
But give me what you saw from the defensive perspective.
I think the secondary's rough right now because you look outside of Michael Barrett. Is that 23? Was that
he played phenomenal, by the way.
But outside of him, like I just look at like when you go up against Ohio State recently, like Olave and all those guys, and they're just going to, as of this moment, just going to run circles around these corners right now. And I don't think you have the pass rush to be like, let me get in there in half a second to get there, like they were against Minnesota. Like Justin Fields is going to have 4 seconds to throw with his offensive line and stuff. And
that offensive line is good, and they showed that today against Nebraska. Everyone was saying it. Their offensive and defensive line is like men playing with boys right now.
But to your point, though, I think that Milton can control the game more to the point where I don't think it's going to get super out of hand.
Correct.
At least very early. It could at points, but I think that they can control it more.
I'm just excited to see what this offense can do as the season progresses, right? Because for me, this is the first year that I have left an opening game by Michigan going, you know what? I like our offense. I like the fact that it's simple. I like the fact that all they're doing is saying, we're athletic, and we're just going to outrun you and do what Ohio State does. You need to have that kind of offense to compete now. You can't run the ball 55. Look, even Wisconsin, right, who is known for running the football as well as they do, they churn out running backs every year, it feels like, right? What do they always come up short in? The big games. Why? Because they never have a quarterback, since probably Russell Wilson, to come in and genuinely play to a high enough level to win those big games. Every time they play Ohio State or Penn State, hell, even Michigan in some years, right, that Harbaugh's been here, when they're forced to throw, they don't have the big play guys. They don't have a good enough quarterback to do it. So, for Michigan to go out there and be multiple in the way that they were, like some of these plays were not going to work against good teams, right? Those tight end screens will not work against Ohio State and Wisconsin. But right? The fact that I trust the guy that's under center to go, you know what? I'm just going to be an athletic freak and be an athletic freak. And not try to do anything more than that, for me, is a little exciting because I go, we finally have an athletic freaky quarterback that we've always playing in those big games, right? So that's something good. Real quick, let's talk Michigan State here. Give me your prediction, Mike, first. And what is your key to the game for Michigan and Michigan State each if they want to win this game?
All right. Well, I'm going to take Michigan by 17, only because I can't.
It's hard. It's hard to be like this is going to be close.
Yeah, I can't say it's going to be close by all.
No offense, it's just rough.
I don't want to say it's like a 40-point game either. I don't think that's fair. So I'd say like 14, 17.
And it's a rivalry game. They will come out pumped.
Yeah. Michigan literally do exactly everything you did this week. Have Joe Milton just be what he needs to be and have a dominant run game, and I think you'll be perfectly fine. And for Michigan State, I think you need to force turnovers because Michigan really didn't turn the ball over. I don't think a single time really.
No, they never. Yeah, they were never even really in third and longs for the most part today. They
outside
all
of a
right
few
dominance
holdings and stuff, they were always in like second sevens and third and sixes.
Helps that Joe Milton runs 5 yards or 5 steps and it's 12 yards.
Yeah,
he's ginormous.
So I think defense. I think for Michigan State, they really need the defensive turnovers and also not commit as many turnovers.
Yeah, if they can hold on to the ball, I think it'll be a lot closer. I think they beat Rutgers number 1 if they just don't turn it over 7 times. That's I mean that's like a whole touchdown worth right there. And so I agree with you on that. Kyle, same question to you. Give me a prediction for the game. We're gonna break down that game next week, obviously, when it actually happens. But give me a prediction, key to the game for Michigan, key to the game for Michigan State if they want to win.
If I had to predict, I would probably take Michigan, probably like 35, 13, 14, around there. Only because that what Michigan did to Minnesota, they can do. That's exactly what they can do to Michigan State. Like I don't see Michigan State stop it.
Yes.
I think it's going to be the same game plan. I don't think they'll be able to stop it. And
don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, and you just do the same thing, you'll be fine. And you got to understand that Jim Harbaugh has been in this rivalry his entire life. Mel Tucker has never played a game in this rivalry.
Yep.
So I think that'll just be the energy that Michigan's going to come out with, and coming off the loss from last week, Michigan State will kind of have to build that energy again, and I think it's going to be a dominant performance. From
okay, but if you have to, if you are a Michigan State fan, what is a key for you that you need to look at in order for Michigan State to pull off an upset? I agree with Michigan's going to go in as a huge favorite, right? Is it in Michigan State or is it in Michigan this time? I know it doesn't matter because you're not
it's in
fans.
Michigan.
Is it at Michigan though? I know it doesn't matter because there's not really fans, but it's still nice to play on your home field, right?
Michigan's home.
Yeah, but if you are Michigan State, what is a key for them to get the victory, if there is one for you, to really pull off an upset? Because it's a rivalry game. We've seen crazier things happen, and Michigan is the king of blowing these stupid games where they should dominate. So give me a reason why Michigan State wins this game.
I think the perfect way that Michigan State could win this is starting off quick, not making those mistakes, starting off quick.
Yes.
And then once you start off quick, make Joe Milton make those plays that he didn't have to do this week.
Would it be fair to say the same criticism I think that we had with Justin Fields last year at the beginning of the year, where Ohio State was really flying around on defense and they were really running the ball well. They didn't play anybody particularly difficult. The original thing was make Justin Fields throw and beat you. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is a fair assessment for what Michigan State needs to do from what we've seen so far out of Joe Milton, which, in all honesty, isn't a ton from a throwing perspective? We saw a lot with his legs tonight, but is it fair to say that if you're Michigan State, you go, maybe I have to make him throw and not let him get out of the pocket and maybe force him to stay in the pocket and beat me throwing the football? Is that a fair assessment to say, or is it too early right now just because we've only had one game of him?
I mean, for how dominant they were running the ball, yes, that is it.
Because you saw how easily he could they just pulled a
But it's helpful when it's 3rd and 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Run so easily, and they have to always worry about that. When you have to worry about that, you're limited in how much you're going to rush and how you're going to rush quarterback. But if you make him pass, which he hasn't had to do as a starting quarterback, then that's how you get him.
Right. So I think you guys both made some great points. I think starting fast for Michigan State, getting up into an early lead, a 10, 14-point lead if you can somehow, that's huge. And also for you, Mike, is limiting the turnovers and maybe even creating one or two, forcing Milton into some awkward situations. Honestly, if D'Antonio was still coaching, I would be a little bit more concerned because I don't know a ton about Mel Tucker outside of the fact he's at Colorado. So for me, I go, I'm not super concerned at this game. I think Michigan should win easily, and they should very much win easily in this game. But, D'Antonio always cooked up something weird for Michigan, right? I don't know if, because Mel Tucker is new to this whole thing. It's going to matter, but I don't know if they have enough yet. It's not a quick. If they were playing 5 weeks from now, I'd say this Michigan State team would be a little bit more ready to play. Just a week from now, it's going to be a really tough task to ask for. So I'm going to take Michigan. I'll take Michigan 37, Ohio State. Michigan State 20. I'm going to say that. I think it's maybe a little bit closer than we think. But 17 is a pretty solid number. But that's going to be it for this week's show. Obviously, we're going to talk the rivalry game next week for sure. We're going to review WWE's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Maybe talk some World Series action, among other things as well. Hell, we could even be talking about the Lions being 3-3. Who knows? And I say that, so they're definitely going to not be, but it is what it is. But we'll be talking some great sports action like we do every single week. Once again, we really appreciate all your support for these first 100 episodes. We hope you continue to stick with us and continue to grow with us for the next 100, 200, however many more of these we got left. So once again, on behalf of the Whaleman, he's the Merkstone, I'm the Mouth of Michigan, episode 100 officially in the books. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys, as always, next time.
Rob, I'm here. I'm here to do this. Oh, God, this door never shuts. I'll lock it too. Rob, I'm here. There are my shoes. God, I was wondering where those were. Jeez, this is crazy. Rob, I'm here. Where the heck are you? I mean, I'm here to watch the Lions lose again. It's really unfortunate what they're up to these days. Ah! There you are! I got it!
Here we go. Can't be Kyle, he never shows up every 12 episodes. What do you want? Oh! I'm not the champion, you idiot!
Who's the champ? Where's Michael? Where's Michael's shoes? Where's Michael?
Okay, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Gotta go behind here. Oh God. Oh God.
Where'd he go? Hey, Kyle. Jared Cook sucks. Eric Ebron's better. Oh, yeah? I got a gun that's bigger than yours, and guess what? Jordan's better than LeBron. Wait a second, I don't even believe. Hey, whoa, whoa! Oh, got him, yes! Okay. I gotta get out of here. I got one last bullet.
Hey, Michael. Jordan is better than LeBron. Dirk says hi.
No, not Dirk! Oh, oh, oh. No more.
One,
No more.
2,
No more.
3. Pleasure doing business, buddy. There she is. There she is. What a great day.
Kyle. Kyle, you okay? How did this guy beat us twice? Kyle. Truce.